excited for this one.
Dude, I was surprised that we were able to get it this soon. It's great.
So this is the Nintendo Switch 2, a console that is relatively difficult to get right now.
It is.
But if you can get your hands on it and you've had the Switch 1 or the Switch 1 OLED, this is really nice.
Oh, it is a very welcomed upgrade
Yeah,
on the console.
in a lot of different ways. So
Mhm.
the Switch 2 comes with a ton of different upgrades, even compared to, like, we have a Switch 1 OLED. I have a Switch 1 OLED as well, personally. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here.
And it's Nintendo. Like, you can never go wrong with Nintendo. It's
Yeah.
such a nostalgic company, and everyone grew up with that. So
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So we want to talk about what's different with the Nintendo Switch 2, and we also have the Mario Kart World Bundle.
Oh, dude, yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna do some awful Mario Kart gameplay as well. So
Well,
you
speak
guys
for
can see-
yourself. I think I'm gonna have some.
I'm
fun.
pretty trash at Mario Kart, so so we're gonna do some Mario Kart gameplay as well, so you guys can see what that looks like on the new Switch 2. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Now, we said earlier, Nintendo. It's a very known brand, and if anything, you have played a console at some point in your childhood. We have. I mean, I grew up with the GameCube.
I grew up with the N64.
All
It's
right.
Super Nintendo, but like,
All right, Unc.
yeah.
Anyway. Anyway.
Am I Unk stats?
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Dude, I played with the Game Boy, and the Game Boy is also like my little brother grew up with a DS. I was a Game Boy guy.
Game Boy Color, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Back whenever
They were
the Game
transparent?
Boy, yes.
Oh, those
I had
were
a couple
sick.
of transparent Game Boys.
Yeah.
Not only that, no backlight. Okay, so
Oh,
if you want to
that's
play in the
true.
dark, you had that stupid looking light accessory,
Yeah.
or you just didn't play in the dark.
Until the one that like folded open had that actual light.
The DS,
thing. Is it
the SP,
SD?
SP,
SP?
SP,
Yeah, yeah.
Game Boy Advance
I'm
SP.
telling you, man. Yeah, Nintendo's great. I think people love it. Maybe a couple people hate it. That's fine. You can have your opinion, but ultimately, it's out there, and it's one of the biggest console companies and gaming companies known to man. With now going into movies, I guess with the Mario movie,
I forgot about that.
Smash Bros movie coming out.
There was a Super Mario movie too, right?
Yeah, well,
I
yeah.
forgot about
but
that.
Smash
It was
Bros.
good.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It was good.
Now, the thing about this console, what makes it unique is that Nintendo took a very unique but not really approach to the release and the marketing and the naming of it. And if you remember, when the Wii came out, the Wii was a huge success.
I love the Wii.
The Wii was an amazing console.
Yeah.
New mechanics, new controllers, the games were great, the catalog was amazing.
I think my family in general has like 3 Wii consoles still that work.
Dude, I have mine.
You do?
Oh yeah, and I hacked it. Anyway, it was such a success that it lasted for I don't know, like 6-7 years.
The
when
Wii
it
was-
came out.
yeah.
It was amazing.
The Wii was hot. Like, I remember when Wii Sports came out.
Oh, dude, yeah.
People were,
Sweats.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
People were
like
excited
gotta
about
get a
that. Man.
perfect
You
game in
couldn't
bowling.
find a Wii anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
that
like the Christmas gift every year.
Yeah.
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 But then history happens. Nintendo wants to release a new console, and they call it the Wii U. The problem with that is the marketing wasn't great. The naming wasn't too clear on what it was, to the point that people thought that it was an extension to the Wii, not a completely new console as a replacement. So the Wii U flopped. Even though it had great features, one of the things that I keep remembering about the Wii U is the fact that the latency was so good that it didn't feel like it was sending any data to the TV. It was happening instantly. And those things are just, even to this day, are hard to replicate with other handheld dock consoles that we have and we play with. Now, when it comes to the Switch comes out 2017.
Super hype.
It is super hype, hard
Yeah.
to get with.
Yeah, it was hard to
it
get.
was impossible to get a hold on one.
Yeah.
And it was a huge success. One, because it changed the naming, so people realized this is a new thing. Two, it had great features with the Joy-Cons, the way that you can play with other people and include more Joy-Cons. It was a completely cool mechanism, and it was a huge success. I mean, I
It's been
remember
8 years.
Unc, I told you.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
dude, time flies. Which we
I'm
reviewed,
about
by
to
the
just
way.
leave.
We have
I'm gonna go.
have a Switch One review on our channel if you dig deep enough.
Please don't.
Somewhere in there.
Please don't.
Probably terrible video.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah. It's an awful video.
gosh.
I'm sure it's gonna be trash.
But then we look at today with the Switch 2 being announced with a similar name to the Switch 1, but now taking this approach of kind of like the Sony and PlayStation naming convention where
Okay.
they just add the number and keep going up. But there's something about the Switch 2 with marketing that now people know this is a different console. There's things that are here that are not going to be available on the Switch 1. There's things that are going to be way better as a complete replacement instead of just being a slight improvement. And we're seeing it. It's popular. There's a lot of people trying to get one. There's a lot of people not being able to get one.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And fortunately enough, we were one of the lucky ones to get one early on. We got to play with it and we fell in love with it right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
The differences are very, very noticeable.
oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, let's talk about what the improvements are between the Switch 2 and the Switch 1, and if it's worth for you getting one if you currently have a Switch 1 console.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of them. Let's kick things off, no pun intended, because it has a kickstand. Let's kick things off with the display.
Yeah.
That is going to be the first and the biggest thing you notice. Pun intended. There's a lot of puns here.
They're intentional at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
That's going to be the first and the biggest thing you notice once you start using the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yep.
7.9 inch, 1080p display, non-OLED.
That's right.
I feel like Nintendo did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
4 years from
100%.
now, 4 years from now, Switch 2 OLED's going to drop. Watch. It's going to be a thing.
I agree.
We said it 4 years early.
We
Right?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. But yeah, 7.9 inch, 1080p display,
Mm-hmm.
120 hertz refresh rate, HDR10 support.
Yes.
Those were all not present on the previous Switch.
Right. It
Right.
is a big improvement.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the Switch 1, not the Switch 1 OLED,
Right.
7.9 versus 6.2.
That, yeah, it is a huge
That's
jump.
massive.
Yeah.
Right? 1080p versus 720p.
Right.
No HDR10 support on the original Switch 1.
Yeah.
And no 120 hertz refresh rate on the Switch 1.
Right.
Now, if you look at Switch OLED is a 7-inch display,
Right.
but that one has OLED technology, which
It looks
I-
a little bit better.
I was
Sure.
kind of bummed to not see OLED on Switch 2, but
Yeah.
I know I get why Nintendo
Right.
did
It's
it.
a strategy.
Yeah, I get why Nintendo did it. As far as docking to a television,
Oh, yeah. That's
Right?
a big one.
Switch 2 can output up to 4K,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Previous Switches were 1080p.
Yeah. I remember when the Switch OLED came out and people were talking and just very disappointed on how the OLED Switch was not able to output to 4K displays with a 4K resolution. And I mean, think about it. It came out in 2021 with a device that's limited to 1080p to a huge TV that you might have at home. It
Mhm.
just, I'm just glad that it's now here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that would have been something to talk about if it wasn't here on this device for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I believe the way this works is like depending on your TV capabilities and stuff like that, it'll also scale the refresh rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's variable.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on just from
Well, and that's the
display
thing.
perspective.
Yeah, even if you think of the display change, that affects so many other components on the design and the feel, the weight of this Switch.
Yes.
On pictures, I don't think it does justice of how much of a difference the Switch and the Switch 2 have on the size, but you see it in person and it's mind-blowing. It is a huge device, but not too big to the point that it's not ergonomic or comfortable. It feels great in your hand.
It
And
does.
if anything, there's benefits like a bigger Joy-Con. You have bigger buttons, bigger joysticks. It definitely helps you click and feel the controllers a lot better.
Yeah.
The weight is not bad at all. So it's not like you're carrying something that's super heavy. You do have a bigger battery. This is something that's a little pro and con because you do have a bigger battery. You have about almost 1,000 milliamps more on this device compared to the OLED. The problem is that because it's a bigger, more powerful chip and it's also a nicer, more complex display,
Yep.
you're not gonna have more
Better battery life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have, if anything, maybe a little bit less compared to the previous model.
Yeah.
So if handheld is the only thing you do and you don't want to be plugged in, that's the one thing I would consider just because you're gonna have to charge it a few times a day.
Yeah, your
especially
battery
if you're
life-
gaming consistently.
Yeah, your battery life drain is going to be noticeable.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Much larger display, almost
Right.
8 inches, right? 1080p, HDR10, 120 hertz refresh rate,
Non-OLED.
better processor.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that it is better on paper, but the execution is not better. So that's just something that we got to warn you guys about.
Yeah.
But there's also other pros like I don't know. This is a big one for me. Even the cartridge to change games, the little slit that you
Yeah.
open, it's
Yeah.
just so much easier to deal with. Changing games between the Switch 2 compared to the older Switch.
Yeah.
It's just so much better.
Small quality of life improvements.
Right.
You mentioned the Joy-Cons too, so and I think if you've been if you're keeping up with the
Hmm.
Switch 2, you're probably seeing these little prongs that stick out on
Yeah.
the sides whenever the Joy-Cons are not attached, and that's because the Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 are magnetic.
Huge improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know there's concern for like I've seen it online. There's concern for like, okay, well, what if you bump the Joy-Con while it's attached? Like, will that break off and stuff?
Right.
I believe Nintendo's already made a statement that says like these have a little bit of give, so like there
Hmm.
is a little bit of flexibility there in case something like that happens,
Hmm.
so it doesn't break. But when they're magnetically attached, they are solid.
Oh, they feel great.
They are
Yeah.
solid to the point where there's a button that you have to press back here in order to dislodge
Release.
the Joy-Con. Release
Yeah.
that's a better word. Release the Joy-Con, right? You have to apply like a decent amount of pressure to it,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
pops the Joy-Con out, which is really really cool.
Yeah. I think it's such a way better mechanism compared to the older Switch, which even the older Switch wasn't bad, but I think it's one of those things that you just keep improving and improving to the point that it is better
Yeah.
and it just feels so smooth. It's easy to put it in, easy to take out.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as a kickstand. The kickstand wasn't bad on the OLED Switch. Yeah, it was probably arguably not great with
Mhm.
the original Switch, but it wasn't bad to the point that the OLED has a good kickstand, but this one is even better. It just
Yeah.
feels solid. You can put it at different angles. It's thin around the edge, but even if it's thin, it holds the weight perfectly fine if you want to put it on a table and kind of take a step back and just play with the Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
It feels great. I mean,
Yeah.
even because you have a bigger Switch, now you have a bigger dock. And the dock feels more solid. I mean, you have your USB-C for power, HDMI, and Ethernet ports, but it's a little bit thicker, and of course, it's gonna be a little bit wider, so it doesn't feel as flimsy and easy to knock over like the previous docks that we had with the Switch. So overall, having a bigger display improves so many other things, like a domino effect, that I think are gonna be very, very good for you. Now, of course, because it's a new console, you also have new internals, and I think it's known that Nintendo is never the top of the top or best of the best when it comes to hardware in the market. And that's okay. I think Nintendo it's in its own category when it comes to gaming and the consoles just because of the experience that they give you, the type of games that they offer, the exclusives that they have. So it's not trying to compete with Xbox or PlayStation.
Yep.
It wants to be a gaming experience for the family or for you as an individual that's completely separate from that. So it's
Yeah.
it's like I mean I have both. I have a PlayStation and a Switch. You have an Xbox and a Switch. So it's not like you're choosing one to be the main one. Nintendo kind of prepares their devices to be something that's in a house, regardless of if you have a console from another company or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't really, it's you can't compare them to something like an Xbox Series X or like a PS5
Right.
just because the form factor too. You know
It's
what I
yeah,
mean?
it's a completely different experience, and
Yeah.
it just works. I mean, you're looking at something that's a huge, huge leap in improvement compared to the previous Switch.
Hmm.
So even though this one came out, this Switch comes out 5 years after this Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5, it's not gonna be up to par with those measurements and hardware levels, but it's still such a big improvement that you are gonna notice a difference when it comes to those Nintendo exclusives that play so much better and smoother
Yeah.
with this device.
Even non-Nintendo exclusives, right? Like just comparing some of the ways that certain games on this
Hmm.
console plays compared to the OLED,
Right.
right? Rocket League,
Dude,
big
that's a
one,
big one.
big one.
Yeah.
So just taking a look at the way the graphics of Rocket League play,
Yeah.
the overall smoothness of the gameplay, fluidity, things like that, it's vastly different
Yeah.
between Switch 2 and even Switch OLED.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I think it's also really great that Nintendo is trying to make this, I don't want to say more of like a social console because I feel like the Switch is like one of the ultimate social consoles,
Right.
but they added like an in Switch microphone so you can
Yeah, that's
have
true.
yeah, so you can have game chat through your Switch.
Right.
Haven't tested it, haven't heard anybody else use it in the games that we've played.
Yeah.
Like we've even played some multiplayer games online. Haven't heard anybody else use the microphone. I don't know what the quality would be like.
Yeah.
I just picture it sounds like you're talking through, and we can't confirm this, but I just picture it sounds like you're talking through like a drive-through microphone.
And
Hey, bro, you suck. You know what I mean?
I think is if people remember, of course, having a headset is going to be
Original
miles
Xbox
better.
party chat days.
Well, either that or even look at the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
The dual edge controller has a built-in microphone, and dude, it's
Is it bad?
so bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm grateful that there's an option just in case your headset dies if it's wireless.
Yeah,
But you can tell I'm playing with friends and their headset dies, and I can tell instantly
That they're
that they're
talking through
using the controller microphone because
controller.
the quality is so bad.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect this one to be any different, and it's not a bad thing either. Just because the fact that you have something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So
And it basically would match what PS5 would probably have on par 2, right? In their controller.
in their controller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're so of course like it makes sense that it's here, right?
Right.
Other cool things, backwards compatibility for old Switch games.
Yes.
Which is cool for me because like I have like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl
Right.
and stuff like that. So that's really cool to know that I can just take those games, throw them in here, and they work. And then if you wanted to, let's say you have some older Joy-Cons, you can wirelessly connect them to this, and you can play with older Joy-Cons. Like we tested that out with Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was using the Switch 2 Joy-Cons to play Smash Bros. David was using his OLED
Mhm.
Switch 2 Joy-Cons, and we were able to play like a team fight in Super Smash Brothers. So
Yeah.
that's really, really cool that if you have a pretty expansive library,
Right.
you can still play it here on Switch 2. And if you've accumulated a collection of Joy-Cons, which you probably have because stick drift is a real thing.
Oh, it's a real thing.
Yeah, you can still use those Joy-Cons wirelessly on the Switch 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall the experience is very enjoyable. I think it takes the really good things that the Switch had and it makes improvements on that, making everything more fluid.
Oh, this console's so much fun.
It is
So much fun.
a must-have in the household.
If you can get your
It's-
hands on it.
If you can get your hands on it. I
Yeah.
think it's great.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But I think that just about does it as far as the details go.
Yep.
Because we want to show some gameplay. But pricing?
Yeah, let's talk about pricing.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at this Switch 2 coming out for $449
Just the
if
console.
you have the console only. Yeah,
Yep.
if you're looking at a bundle like the Mario Kart bundle, we're looking at $499.
Yep.
And I know that right away because this is what I thought when I
The
first
bundle
saw the
price is
prices.
worth it, by the way, right? Because the physical cartridges are like $79.
It actually is a really good price. I agree.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think it's a good bundle.
Yeah.
But I think it makes you think this is so much more expensive than the previous Switch, and you're not wrong.
How much was the OLED?
So the OLED came out for $349, and the
Okay.
original Switch was $300. So we're looking at $150 compared to the original Switch.
Okay.
But you also got to consider that there's so much more that this one brings, including the
A ton.
technology. Yeah,
$150 a ton. I've seen Apple make price hikes for less.
for nothing.
Yeah. yeah. Yeah.
So-
$150 compared to the original Switch, worth it.
Yeah, and I think
Worth
I would probably put it this way: it's like let's say that you bought the Switch, 8 years ago when this first Switch came out, and that was $300 that you spent back then. 8 years later, you're at a point that you know what? Should I upgrade? Should I not upgrade? It's 450, 500. I think if you think of it as that's the 500 you're going to spend for the next 8 years when it comes to Nintendo consoles, then I would be fine with it. I
Yeah.
think it is a good investment just because they do last. They're timeless. They're so much fun, and I think it's a really good package that brings you a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you're rocking the original Nintendo Switch, not
Right.
even the OLED, please do yourself a favor. If you can buy this, I don't think you would regret it.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think you would regret it. I'm actually coming from a Switch OLED,
Right.
and I bought the Switch OLED 2022. Oh,
Like-
no, I didn't even buy it, actually. It was gifted to me from my family
Yeah.
as a Christmas gift. So, and that, even then, like a couple of years later, I'm like, you know what? This is
It's a jump.
vastly different.
it's a
Even from
great
the
jump.
OLED, it's vastly different. So you go from a traditional or the original Switch to this one, night and day
Right.
difference.
Yeah.
Night and day difference. Yeah. No, definitely worth the price, in my opinion.
Now, of course, let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments and let us know if you were excited to see the Switch 2 announcements, if you like the features, if there's anything that you don't like, please let us know. We'd like to hear from you. We do have a lot more stuff coming out as well in the future, so stay tuned.
Exciting stuff coming from Samsung in July.
Yeah, so I can't wait to test that out to see what that
Foldable
is.
phones.
We've seen the leaks, we've seen the rumors. We'll see if it turns out to be true, but I can't wait because I want to give it a shot.
I'm excited. Samsung, you better not botch the Fold 7.
We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
But until the next one,
Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.
peace.
Peace.
A lot more than the previous Switch. You're not wrong. It is very accurate because you're looking at the OLED. That one came out for $349, and the
Oops,
original
sorry.
Switch.
Man could not maintain composure.
It was so loud.
Yeah. And then there's Bro, I forgot what I was gonna talk about. What was I gonna talk about?
Microphone.
Oh yeah, microphone. I was trying to But I think,
that's it.
yeah, I think that just about does it as far as details.
I tried. I really
know, bro.
tried, and I
I
saw
know.
you, and I just couldn't help
Yeah,
it.
I know. You laughed a second time too, and that's what made me laugh. But I think that just about does it. As far as details go. Great, man. Yeah.
All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. I think I let it out. We're good.
You good?
Yeah. Dude, that one's on you. That one's on you.
Alright.
I was doing
Oh,
fine.
man. Just keep it going. You ready? Keep it going. Keep it going. You're good. You're good. You're good. All right. But I think that just about does it.
Why?
Bro, I can
Oh,
see
gosh.
it.
What is
I can
going
see
on
it. Like
right
as soon as I looked over, bro, I could see it. All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. All right. We're good. We're good.